Nobody trusts anybody now. We're all very tired.
What's up, Raiders? It's Adam from RaidersOfLostFlicks.com, and I just got back from seeing Birds of Prey. I feel like if I say anything other than this movie was just the greatest thing that's ever happened, I'm probably going to get blasted in the comment section, because this is one of those movies that comes out every couple of years where people immediately draw lines in the sand and take sides.
Ha! Gay!
And anybody that doesn't like my film is an incel or a misogynist. For those people that are just wanting that, it's the greatest movie I've ever seen. 5 out of 5 cheese curds. And this fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn makes me want to cut my balls off with a pair of rusty safety scissors on my way to Burning Man. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on the way out. Have a fantastic day. Give me a thumbs up. Bye. Oh, you want an actual review? Okay, well, let's take it back to the beginning. Not that far. Birds of Prey was directed by Kathy Yan. It stars Margot Robbie, Rosie Perez, and Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor plays the Black Mask. The Black Mask wants to get his hands on a diamond. That is the MacGuffin in the movie. And then, of course, all of the Birds of Prey intersect, forming the Birds of Prey. All of the Birds of Prey, which is Black Canary, the Huntress, Cassandra Cain, L.E.J. Basco, they all intersect in some way, shape, or form. Of course, we know Harley Quinn. This is supposed to be her movie. She's supposed to be the protagonist. She's been dumped by the Joker, as was set up in Suicide Squad. I think that was set up in Suicide Squad. I don't know. I haven't seen that movie since 2016. This is very much like Suicide Squad 2. We don't know why they've broken up. They don't really elaborate on that, other than he threw her out and she's coping with it. Mostly coping with the fact that she doesn't have the street cred that she had before, being the Joker's girlfriend. So that happens. Of course, everybody in this movie has been wronged by some kind of man in this movie. Most of the men are knuckle-dragging goons that are just like, oh. Come here, baby, yeah. That's most of the men in this movie. It's hard for me to take that kind of thing seriously when everybody is a cartoon caricature. Now, I don't understand if this movie's trying to be a comedy, or if it's trying to be an action movie, or if it's trying to be a superhero movie, because clearly there's no superheroes until the third act. More on that later. If it's a comedy, the comedy's not written very well. It does have comedic timing. It plays out a lot like a Guy Ritchie movie or Quentin Tarantino. But the problem is, it's not edited near as well as a Guy Ritchie movie. I didn't think I'd ever say that in a sentence. And the dialogue is not as smart or clever as a Quentin Tarantino movie. So that begs the question, who is this movie for? A lot of girls really latched onto Harley Quinn when Suicide Squad came out. I know a lot of girls dressed up like her for Halloween. Most of them were in their early teens, or maybe, mid to early teens. This is an R-rated movie, so this is not for them. Clearly this is a feminist movie, because as I mentioned, I'm being perfectly honest when I say there's nothing really insidious about a movie that delivers exactly what it is advertised. This is a feminist movie. It's what was advertised. But also I do believe that this movie was maybe a little too out front with its advertising, to the point to where it might have pushed people away. It's kind of like when people come knocking on your door with a flyer advertising their religion. It might not get you interested right away. Just making that point. All of the men are knuckle-dragging goons, so it's not for them. So that leaves the question, who is this for? This is a feminist movie. Isn't that pretty much the equivalent of preaching to the choir? I don't really understand. I really wanted to like this movie more than I did. Let's just get into the positives first. I like Margot Robbie in this role. I don't really like the way this character is written, though. And this is the second movie that she's been in, and that DC just can't seem to figure out what to do with her. The fact that there's another Suicide Squad movie coming out, this movie doesn't make me excited for that. There's a lot of music in this movie that is shoved into every single scene, and it's like song after song after song after song. If you've seen Suicide Squad, it's a lot like that. The soundtrack it's like somebody's iPod from the 90s. Probably 200-300 songs, all of them playing for about 15 seconds. On to the next scene. It's kind of distracting. Another thing that I had problems with is the movie likes to cut away to give complicated backstories where they're not necessary. Here's this setup, here's this character's backstory. Good thing is there's a lot of fight scenes in this, but it gets really hard to get into because the fight scenes and choreography are so bonkers unbelievable that I felt like I was watching Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, and that's not a compliment. That movie is bonkers. Have you guys ever seen that one? Margot Robbie looks like she's probably about 90 pounds soaking wet. All of the men in this movie run up to her, and there's a scene in this movie where Margot Robbie breaks into a police station. She has a grenade launcher, and she's shooting glitter bombs at the police officers, none of which ever fire a weapon at her at all. And if they do, they got about as much target practice as stormtroopers or the red shirts from Star Trek. It's goofy. It's really goofy. It's the other thing. All of the victims in this movie are men. There's maybe one fight where two girls tussle for just a little bit, but most of the time, it's these women beating the living shit out of all of these men. And most of the goons in this movie run up to her and get their asses kicked. And I mean run up to her and get their asses kicked. It's comically bad. It's
Talk to the hand.
I know that's a comic book movie. Why are these women so powerful for any other reason other than women? And that's fine, you know, but it was a lot more believable when Sarah Connor was beating the shit out of people because you could see she'd been lifting. She had a lot of motivation set up by another movie, and you could tell that she meant everything that she was going to do. These women don't look like they lift weights like Sarah Connor did in T2. You know what I mean? It's a little hard to believe. The third act of this movie is where it really starts to fall apart for me. The set itself looks like it was taken from an amalgamation of a Tim Burton movie and one of Joel Schumacher's Batman movies. Like, they're in this playground that looks like it's straight out of one of Tim Burton's nightmares. It's bizarre. And then remember that superpower that I was telling you about earlier? It comes back when the canary just kind of does this shriek thing, you know, and it wasn't set up, it wasn't paid off, it wasn't explained. I didn't read the comics, so I was assuming that maybe people that didn't read the comics, this movie was maybe made for them. And a good comic book movie should not require any additional outside sources to tell me a story. But hey, that power happens and then it's never addressed again, or let alone why was that power never used earlier in the movie when it could have made more of a difference. So that brings me to my last point. How do I rate this movie? You know, obviously this wasn't made for me. I am a man, I am single, I am heterosexual, I'm not a feminist. I mean, if I'm judging this by a movie that I just went into a theater as blindly as possible, trying really hard to turn off the virtue signaling and the very apparent feminist woke marketing surrounding it, it's a 2 out of 5 cheese curds. It's government cheese. I can't give it any higher than a government cheese. It's just not as good as I wanted it to be. I actually wanted to be wrong about this movie, but, you know, for all the backlash that you hear, how many more of these movies need to be taken? Where at no point in this movie did I feel like there was ever any real stakes. I know that's kind of a common problem with a lot of superhero movies. I never felt any real threat or danger. Like I said, all of the men are knuckle-dragging goons, drooling buffoons waiting to be destroyed by these women. Something that a bunch of girls want to get together and go out and have a good time watching. By all means, enjoy that. But you're really narrowing your audience down to a small group of people, where you're asking people for $15 for a ticket. So, you know, since it wasn't for me, did I give it a fair score? I don't know. I'm giving it 2 because I enjoyed Margot Robbie's performance. I think she did the best she could with the parts that she had, but I think it was a very bad script. I don't think the cinematography was all that great, especially the third act. It felt like a movie I've already seen. What did you guys think? Are you gonna go see Birds of Prey, The Emancipation of one Harley Quinn? What's your favorite DC movie? What's your favorite movie with Margot Robbie? Leave a comment in the section. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out, and if you make sure you hit the subscribe button. You guys have yourselves a groovy day, and this is Adam signing out. Peace.